Welcome back to the I Love Pies Footy YouTube channel. And the Pies have done it again. They've gone interstate with their backs against the wall in a must-win game and have beaten Brisbane Lions at the Gabba on Easter Thursday. Obviously a massive result, going 1-3 now rather than 0-4. Our season is now starting to look like it's on the mend after getting that first win for the season. Going into the game, we brought in John Noble and Hoskin Elliott, had managed side bottom and dropped Oleg Markov. So the positional changes in the game saw Nick Dacos move to the halfback flank along with John Noble, who had a great game, and we'll talk more about him later in this video. The first quarter started off quite sloppy on both sides of the ground. I think Collingwood's kicking efficiency was quite poor. I think we were at 56% kicking efficiency for the quarter, but what we leaned on in that quarter was our desire and will to stick tackles and be relentless, and clearly was a message going into the game, because in previous games our tackling pressure, being able to stick those tackles, just wasn't there. And maybe it was just a matter of adding that 5-10% of tenacity to those efforts in those moments, and that's the difference. That's the outcome you get. I think we finished with 85 tackles compared to Brisbane's 53, which is the biggest differential in any Collingwood game since 2014. So it just goes to show how much of an emphasis must have been put on tackling for this game in particular. And obviously Bobby Hill, Mr. Norm Smith, was a great big beneficiary of our tackling pressure and ended up kicking 3 goals in the first quarter to get the ball rolling for the Pies against Lions. So a bit of PTSD for Lions and their fans when Bobby Hill came out and got the ball rolling like that. In the end, it was actually a really encouraging first quarter. As I pointed to before, that the tackling pressure was unreal. And then in the latter half of that first quarter, we ended up actually stringing some nice transition plays, which saw us get some goals off the back of that. It was the second quarter where we had to withstand a barrage of pressure that was being applied by Brisbane, and obviously it started in the midfield for Brisbane when it came to why Brisbane were able to dominate that second quarter from start to finish. They were killing us in centre clearances, and it was mostly thanks to Lachie Neale, who deserves a shout out. He had 35 disposals, 20 contested possessions, 13 ground ball gets, which was a game high, a goal, and 4 clearances in that first half alone. He really played that game like a natural born leader. Despite the level of dominance Brisbane had in that second quarter, they were only able to even the ledger scoring wise for the game, which would have been disappointing on their behalf. But it's a special thanks to Collingwood's defense putting their bodies in undesirable positions in contests when that ball was just flying in second after second. You saw blokes like Mason Cox going with the fly, Billy Frampton putting his body in the line, Quaynor, Howe, Darcy Moore, Braden Maynard. Just, they didn't care what the outcome was as far as how are they going to turn out after engaging in a dangerous contest. They just wanted to impact the ball. Brisbane, as I said, they threw their best punch in that second quarter, and from there onwards, Collingwood really did lead the dance in that game. Hey guys, just quickly, if you are enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. I do match reviews, previews for anything and everything Collingwood, and I also will be doing a full comprehensive video match analysis, and I release that every Sunday or Monday for you guys to watch. Let's get back to the video. Going into that third quarter, Finlay Macrae was subbed out quite early, and he did seem disappointed, as you would. It was like, I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes into that third quarter, but Macrae wanted to inject someone like Jack Crisp in the game, who had been down in form, so he had a point to prove coming into the game as a substitute. So once he was thrown in there, he was amazing. He led the game for tackles inside 50 despite only playing a quarter and a half, and collected 6 ground ball gets. And I was critical of him last week of not wanting to pick up the ball below his knees, and he did that and more in this game that he played. I think once the game was all said and done, our pressure was just too much for Brisbane. Our defensive zone across the ground was really good. I don't think that Brisbane were able to transition the ball very easily, if at all. And we can dive into that a little bit more in my video analysis that I'll release on Sunday. And with ball in hand, we moved the ball reasonably well. Not as good as we have at our peak, but it's definitely trending in the right direction as far as ball movement is concerned, moving through the middle. We were beaten in clearances in the forward half turnovers and the repeat inside 50s that Brisbane were able to apply and Collingwood were able to absorb. And it's something Collingwood are used to doing, where Collingwood absorb that pressure for an extended period of time where the ball is stuck in their defensive half And then once they break out and create a defensive chain going out from our back half, we're usually pretty good at burning the other team going the other way and kicking a goal in general play. So that's a real linchpin of Collingwood's game. And I think we saw a bit of that come back to life yesterday. And the stat that talks to our transition footy returning in a big way yesterday is probably that we were able to have a scoring shot 51% of the time when we entered out inside 50, which, like I said, suggests that we had some quality looks and open looks when going inside 50, where conversely Brisbane were only scoring 37% of the time when they went inside their full 50, and that's probably put down to poor ball movement on their end, just hat kicks going inside 50, and Collingwood defenders just putting their bodies on the line, as I mentioned earlier. And to have this stubbornness that we're just not going to concede. Okay, player performances. Let's start with Johnny Noble. Came in off the back of 27 disposals in the VFL and was back in a massive way. This is probably his biggest game he's had for Collingwood, in my opinion, context-wise. This was against a team that he didn't have an opportunity to play against in the grand final. He'd been in and out of the team. We weren't sure where he was going to be. And talking about his game specifically, he had 24 disposals, running at 87% efficiency. He had 7 score involvements. And when everyone looked very unsteady early in the game, he looked in control and poised with his disposal, which is what we want from John Noble. He's a little bit shorter compared to someone like Oleg Markov, who is a little bit more versatile defensively. But our ball movement was so poor, we had to bring in someone like Noble, who might be a bit more of a defensive liability, but is really good with his ball use. So that paid dividends with Fly bringing him in against Brisbane. Billy Frampton continuing his form from last week, a game high 9 intercept possessions and 3 intercept marks, all the while doing a job on Joe Danaher. So he's looking really comfortable in the position that he's put in right now, and I'm loving every second of it. Jamie Elliott was outstanding, clutch as usual, 16 disposals, 4 goals, kicked crucial goals when we needed them. He had 8 score involvements and chuck a goal assist on top of all of that. Brody Myercheck, 3 goals, 4 marks inside 50, 2 of them contested against none other than Harris Andrews. His body work, where he was able to impede Harris Andrews trying to jump at the ball, really worked in Myercheck's favour and took those 2 big marks and went back and kicked both of those goals, which were absolutely massive for Collingwood in those moments of the game. I've got to give a special shout out to a man who never really blows up the stat sheet per se, but just watching him, he's one of our most important role players and will continue to be for as long as he resides in a Collingwood jumper. Beau McCreary, 10 disposals, 2 goals, nearly had 3 with that snap on the boundary, and 19 pressure acts. Just an outstanding performance, and he really led the way with that fire in the belly type of pressure being applied on Brisbane. Lastly, let's talk about our best on ground, Mr. 200, Tom Mitchell, an absolute tackling machine and a beast in the contest against Brisbane. 24 disposals, going at 95% disposal efficiency as a midfielder is massive. 14 contested possessions, 7 tackles, and a game high 23 pressure acts, which is unbelievable. And just another shout out to Lockie Schultz, who also had 23 pressure acts for the game. Now, this type of game really played into Tom Mitchell's hands. It was a game that was locked in the forward half, whether it be on Collingwood side or Brisbane side. It was tight in the contest. We know Tom Mitchell thrives in those environments where he's in tight and able to get quick hands out or a hat kick out of the contest as well. So he was really, really good. And I had called for him to be dropped last week, so he's put a sock in my mouth after that. Albeit, like I said, I think the game played into his hands being a contest forward half game. I'm more concerned about when the ball is moving from end to end. But we know that type of model of game fits the finals, because the finals, we know the games slow down. It's a big contest game. And I've even mentioned his pressure and running capacity is amazing. It's just his speed and acceleration is lacking. And I just don't know across the season if a Pendles and Tom Mitchell can feature in every game together. We'll see how it goes. He played absolutely unreal in his milestone game, showed the rest of the league that he's still got plenty more to give. So I'm absolutely over the moon for someone like Tom Mitchell, who does so much for Collingwood. Moving on to next week. On Sunday, we play against Hawthorn, and I dare say Nick Dacos might have something to show them after they pretty much stole the Brownlow from him, injuring him, leaving him out for 6 weeks, while they also smacked us by like 5 or 6 goals. So I think Collingwood have have definitely bookmarked this calendar game and are going to look to go 2-3 and maybe even make a statement against the team who tried to derail our season last year. Finally, I can breathe for the rest of the weekend. Enjoy the Easter weekend. Have some chocolates. I hope you guys too. And we'll see you next week for Hawthorn. See you guys.